Spirit Journey, and today is January 7th, 2016. Yes, this is going to be another audio diary, and it's after 11 p.m. I was just listening to a video on motivational speakers. They had this woman, and wow, I'm doing this audio video, because how I was feeling while I was watching her. And maybe it's part of my biasness against my own, but the fact that it was eliciting a response in me, I was starting to get the feeling in my chest as like the feeling that I get before I get an anxiety or a panic attack. It started to increase. And I don't remember if I had turned it off and then turned it back on, but I did watch the whole thing. It was about 50 minutes long, but I noticed this sensation I got in the center of my chest. And this one counselor I spoke to, when I was telling him about this feeling that I was getting when something was bothering me or whatever, and he said, feel that, embrace it. And so I said, okay. So I remember what he was telling me. So I said, okay, I feel it. And I realized he said that not to be cruel and torture, being tortured, self-tortured. No, it's about to be aware of what you're feeling and why you might be feeling what you're feeling. So once you're able to identify it, then you can adjust it. And I feel better now. The program is over, and that's partly why I feel better. But I want to talk to you about it. I know on the surface it might seem very negative of me, but I share it and I say it again as part of my spirit journey, and so that you and myself will understand what I was experiencing. So, what was triggering me? I felt that she was trying too hard. Like she said that growing up, as a teenager, she grew up wanting to be a motivational speaker. And I said, now who as a teenager says that they want to grow up and be a motivational speaker? But she did say, in African American traditions, with her family tradition, about speaking. And yes, I hear that in some African traditions, you have people who are, they tell stories. And she feels that she has this gift. But it was something unique, and, I think if she would have said that, her mother was a speaker or orator, or her grandmother was, whatever, or maybe her father or someone. So I think that was part of it, because I'm trying to see the connection, even though she says, the African tradition, but she's here in the United States. She came across loud, and I see that loud voices in general, loudness, makes me uncomfortable. I mean, someone could be jolly, enthusiastic, but you don't have to be loud. And that was another thing that irritated me. She was wearing a very, very bright, it was either orange, like an orangey red stripe or tie-dyed outfit. It fit her well, though. It fit her to the T. But it was just a loud garment. And so her having a loud mouth, her being very big boned, it was just overkill, I thought. And I felt that she was trying too hard to convince you that she's an outgoing person. If you're outgoing, you're outgoing. You don't have to prove anything. So I think that was another thing that was distracting to me from really receiving her message. And then as she's talking, she's telling us, the audience, that you have to respond. Like, yes, in the African American traditions, that when someone speaks, that the audience respond, like sometimes they might say amen, or something like that, or something to acknowledge that yes, they hear what you're saying, and you're behind them what they're saying. You feel what they're saying. But it was like, if you don't feel something, you know, why force someone to respond in a way that they may not feel led to do so? And I don't know, it made me uncomfortable. It reminded me of church. And I think that was another trigger, that for many years, on and off, for 30 plus years, I was going to these churches, the Baptist churches, the Pentecostal churches in the city, and I was familiar with her style of talking, and it reminded me of church. And for me, I had stopped going to church for about 2 years now. No, three, let's see. Yes, 2 years now. I stopped going December, the last Sunday of 2013 was my last day visiting a church. And so it was reminding me of church talk and just like a performance. She had like an archetype. She had the archetype persona of a black church-going girl who's obese, big mouth, but trying to convince you something, and then wearing the loud clothes. I saw it in my body that I was rejecting this. I was rejecting something that I thought was an answer of spirituality, and it has no real power. And I think my body was I was getting angry in my spirit, and the heart chakra area was responding. I see now, starting 4 years ago, that this is how my body responds to events that is, I think, a disappointment or a sign like weakness, even though she meant strength, and she has a lot of good qualities, this speaker. But it was just reminding me that we're not really going anywhere. And I started feeling like like the people that she had she showed some pictures, and it was to represent her success as a speaker. And she had a picture of her next to a fancy car, and that the maker of the car wanted her to be a speaker for them to help them sell cars, and that she was hugging a famous celebrity. And the only thing I saw in all this was just surfacey, that the happiness seemed to be based on external things and approval. And all my life, I wanted approval. I wanted to feel that I was somebody, that I wanted approval from my family. I think my family mostly. That's where it initially started from. You know, my parents, when I say family. And then employers. And I always felt like empty. That here I'm trying to achieve something based on someone else's determinants. And I see now, as an adult, that success is not based on other people's approval. What if someone never gets someone approval? Does that mean that they're a loser, or they're not worthy, or that they should be depressed? One speaker, a different speaker, had mentioned that that the happiness is something that is within, and not based on external things. You know, he elaborated more on it, and I think I was able to really relate to that speaker, because he was going beyond. He wasn't trying to convince you to be happy, or he was just saying as is. He says, hey, you know, it's not based on all these other things. But I felt with the lady, because of what she was, that she had this approach. Again, she could only be who she is socially. You know, if this is who she identified as being, you know, so be it. But it was just hard for me to accept it. And maybe it's part of me not accepting myself. And this could be a big factor in it. And then when she was mentioning about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and I felt myself shutting down. And why? Because we all, you know, growing up, we've all heard the speech, the I Had a Dream speech. And I say, and I know I said something like this in one of my past videos. I'm sick of hearing that speech. You know what? White people, they don't mind hearing that speech because it didn't come to fruition, not real fruition. And yes, even though we have Obama, President Obama, but he did not represent black people. And so the speech, I have a dream, to white people is, hey, we still got control over you, and we're still killing you by cops, and we're still doing things to you and paying you less money. So when I hear it, that speech, I'm left feeling angry. It's weak. And then I started saying to myself, after this speaker was finished talking, I said, you know, I'm tired of just hearing these archetype heavy-set, dark-skinned black woman wearing loud clothes and trying to convince you that you have it made, you made it, or the I have a dream speech. It's not going anywhere. And it's an archetype to, I feel almost, it presses buttons. And I guess it presses buttons according to how old you are, because, what time period you lived in. And for me, it's just an echo of an era of the 1950s and 60s. It's 50 years since, over 50 years. And I said, 50 years has gone by. I said, I feel for Black America or any oppressed group in America or any part of the world, I see that if you want something, you have to put it in your own hands. And sounding nice and wearing loud clothes or having a big mouth, and smiling and, these archetype things have no power. And real power is not loud. You don't have to force it. And in fact, you don't even have to say many words. But you could be you could be even more effective, I think, by speaking less, but saying more through intent. See, they're not afraid of big fat black women wearing loud clothes or the I have a dream speech. What people of power are afraid of, they are afraid of revolt. We have to stop being afraid and have to be willing to die for what you believe in. And you have to say it direct to a specific group or individual, what your demands are, and that if it's not performed, executed at a specific time period, then you're going to get ugly. And in fact, tell them what you're gonna do. If if what they want is not done. This is how you really get heard. And this is how you get things moving. Wanted to hold somebody's hand and sing songs or getting in front of a camera wearing loud clothes and just be the jolly black person is not going to help you. They're just going to continue using you, as I felt that they were using her, even though she does have some good qualities. But are we really going ahead? And I say no. We're being pacified. And I feel with some of the commercials that I've seen that now the media is sensing that there is restlessness. And then they're going to put things in the media to try to calm you down. And I noticed the commercials, now they're trying to show interracial commercials. Or things regarding one's sexuality and putting it out there, that like it's all acceptable. All these so-called taboo relationships, just to pacify you. But see, the problem is it's like a pus. If you don't lance it, it's always going to be there. It's going to get infected, inflamed, and become toxic. We have to get it out. We have to get it out. And it's like telling us, I got this I got this zit on my face. Yeah, put the little hot compress on it, to soothe it. But you have to lance it to get the toxins out. And so if certain steps aren't done at a certain time, like this set, you tell yourself on such and such time, I'm going to lancet this. I'm going to give it time, and if it doesn't clear up, I'm going to lancet it, regardless. And there's no turning back. I see that why get yourself feeling angry at yourself or at others when you can take matters in your hands and say enough is enough? We have to be specific what goals we want to achieve. And I see that with some of the speakers out there, they never really, they might just kind of go around it, what their aims are, but they need to be specific. We want this and this by this time, or else. That is the difference. If you're really sincere about moving forward, we have to be willing to die. I know this is very strong of me to say, but it's at a point saying enough is enough. We shouldn't walk around getting anxiety or panic attacks. There's a point where we have to say enough is enough. You don't have to be loud. Even Theodore Roosevelt said, "Speak softly, but carry a big stick." And I think he was right. And no one messed with him. So we have to learn how to speak softly, but effectively, but carry a big stick. So this is just food for thought, and food for thought for us to examine ourselves and why we're in the position that we're in. We need to take responsibility in our own hands with wisdom, with knowledge, and with action. Take care, guys. Enjoy your day.